Buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love and support you guys give me from the heart. Gracias. Well, everyone, before getting into the story on him, today was a big day just to share briefly with everyone, right? I've been in and out the hospitals, and I got chemo next Monday. Then 2 weeks after that, it should be over, right? Everything seems it's not gotten too bad after all this dilemma. But anyways, new decisions, different angle from where I'm at now, and I gotta go to the big city now, Mexico, where the medical facility's at, cause right after that, well, that buffer zone 3-4 days after the last chemo and the CAT scan, they want to do the head surgery. They thinking that's what's really getting worse, right? I'm not really thrilled to do so because you guys know the possibilities of me walking out from there are slim to none, right? Nevertheless, you guys know when it comes to becoming it don't fade me, right? Let it be what it's gonna be. I'm not on my time. I haven't been on my time for a long time. But anyways, it's funny how things work out. I have plans to hopefully work and, well, you guys know, just normal stuff. But again, I'm not on my time. Anyways, I do have to come up on my end, right? So I will be posting the GoFundMe. Mine is open. Those that don't know, and just for those that been asking me to do so, right? Again, I'm not on here for that. If you stop in, great. You support, great. And if not, great too. We're on here for the message, and we're gonna press in the message. I'm just sharing because, well, you guys know, been on borrowed time since you guys started hearing me, right? But nevertheless, I do it in case in one of these trips is I just happen to not have the flexibility to get at you, right? But nevertheless, let's not speak on that, right? Let's get into the story I want to share with you guys today. Today is going to be a cautionary story, right? For all those that think that prison is just one of them stopping places before we continue to with our careers, right? And I want to touch on how something small could sometimes turn into something big to the end of whatever you want to get to, right? But anyways, today I want to touch on a homie from Concord. When I was in Corcoran, as I mentioned before, at this time I was in fourth left, right? But I had the blessings of Artie to oversee, right? For a shoe every block. That included putting bloqueros, right? And one right, one left, X, except for three right, cause the peseta program, that debriefing thing. Anyways, the homie Gato from Concord, he was into right, and it was rare, cause I did have a homeboy that would later go from there to Folsom, New Folsom, and the homie, at this time, it was rare to see camaradas from up north as myself in the shoe, right? Pushing an agenda to put their neighborhood up in the map, or what we consider putting it in people's ears, right? Or at least in the correct ones, which is the Pilis, right? To bring something back to the neighborhood. It's kind of a way we always fool ourselves, bringing chaos, I guess, because it just ain't structure there no more, right? But nevertheless, that was our push. So, first and foremost, I hear a lot on, homies from up north, they're looked at, nah. Those that tell you that haven't been nowhere, haven't really been in a solid yard, right? Because that don't matter, again, when you get there, you present yourself as I'm so and so from your city, point blank, right? All that banging, gang banging, set tripping, extra stuff comes when you extend the conversation on a personal tip, right? Anyways, the homie was from Concord, because again, I was the one in charge of keeping tabs on who was there and sending them to BR, right? And the homie at this time, he was coming from Salinas Valley, right? He had done a removal, and he was working for a funny vato, right? Just Chico from Hazard at this time, Everybody knew he had charges, and but nobody questioned it, right? That includes myself, Because at the end of the day, we ain't good enough to even see that paperwork, right? Or to take what they say, which is, according to them, he didn't have an X charge on his jacket, but he's on Megan's Law, right? But nevertheless, that's who he was under. They did a removal on the yard that I guess got a little rough with the CO, and that's what they ended up catching the shoe term behind, right? Not really putting hands on the vato, but the aftermath with the CO. You know, we were not allowed to touch COs unless it's direct disrespect towards a camarada, then we all ride. Or if it came down the pipeline, right, for us to take off. For whatever reason, again, we weren't nobody but soldados. We didn't question it, we boogied and took care of business, right? Anyways, he caught a 10-month shoe. So he was back there. He wasn't going to be back there very long. This was a time where, you know, right there in Corcoran, we had the group yard. For those that have been in Corcoran, you know, you came out and you come out to the rotunda and put you in this little holding cage, strip you out. Then they put you in this, say, this buffer place, take off your cuffs, and they let you in either to the left or right yard, right? You came out usually with your own people, and you're amongst camaradas, right? And the homie was out there with all the homies, and you know, people could say a lot of things, right? There's vatos that, or should I say, carnales, pilis, that they're power hungry or were power hungry and heard a la raza, but you know, they didn't appreciate them charges, even if it was amongst camaradas, which was the case with the old man from Watts and that was there, and Artie. You know, Artie was one that, even though the rumors came out on him now, but he was really against that, right? At least when I was there with him in Corcoran. You know, I seen it play out a couple times. Nevertheless, he didn't like Chico. He felt like Smokey, I guess, that them type of charges amongst the organization, they should not be blessed. Because, you know, someone recently asked me a comment on Instagram, which is why I stood so long underneath ratas, woman abusers, you know, XXX things that I say, you know, I dislike the most. Point blank. You know, I always could keep my distance from them because at the end of the day, I didn't have them set on me to do something about it, right? Because word of mouth was, it was lies. We didn't check the paperwork. Without checking paperwork, you can't really boogie on things, right? Anyways, so the homie Gato, he went out there, paperwork checked out, all was good. He did everything he was supposed to. Is what the cautionary starts, right? As a sureño, he went out there, did what he was supposed to. You know, shouted an appeal to Artie as a sobrino of somebody, right? And reported himself. Hey, I'm here. I came from this yard. Everything checked out with me. My name should be up there already. I'm under your carnal Chico. I just wanted to say my presence or state my presence is here in case I can assist with anything, right? That's called respect for a carnal's yard, right? And you know, when the homie wanted me to get that to Artie, my first thought was, we had this before. You know, and Artie's, wasn't even Artie's, it was Indios, right? That Artie has said that them vatos from Chico, underneath Chico, didn't have nothing coming. Nada. Keep him under a loop. But nevertheless, you know, I didn't have no authority to keep a camarada's kite. So I pushed my appeal forward to Artie, right? And, you know, his reply was, and this came straight from him, that the issue that had happened in Salinas was behind him, or had to do with him, right? To what extent, I didn't get specifics on it, right? But anyways, he said it's basically this vato not only on the loop, but on the first go on something, he had to handle it, right? Again, it had nothing to do with him being a camarada from up north. It was who he was under. Again, every pili, they're different. They don't like each other. All this myth that pilis, they're carnales, chales. They're really at each other's throats. Point blank. Hypocritas, hypocrites that are like, see carnal, I'll back you up, I'll do this, as long as they're ganging. But nevertheless, they're not. First chance they get, they're going to take everything from their carnal, believe me. Including taking the careers of his soldados. You know, again, the homie had a date. You know, so I shot word to the bloquero that was assigned right where Gato was at, and I told him, look, A1's homeboy, just for being under Chico or for whatever, to go on the first thing that comes up, you know. But, you know, homeboy has a date, so be aware of it, and follow orders. At the end of the day, we have to apply to the orders our Artie was giving us to, right? Because, he could have done his whole shoot term, nothing would have happened, right? Again, he didn't have a long shoot term. Nevertheless, it didn't play out like that, right? Because, well, there was a vato from Huntington Park there that needed to get Southsiding. At this time, or any time, right? Sureños do get tipped up, right? Not every discipline is a pegada. Sometimes a discipline could be, let's say you do something small, like, I don't know, well, I won't say lose a kite because that probably can get whacked. But something small, right? A small infraction. Then they tell you to go to the corner, and three camaradas are going to go out there, and they're going to put tips on you, coscorrones, right? No weapons, just to give you a discipline. Till we just won't put a time limit, right? Usually they say it's for 30 to 50 seconds, but till the gunner lies you down, right, in the shoe, point blank. That only applies for the yard, right? Anyways, the vato from Hunting Park, he had coscorrones coming. Nothing big. Just go ahead, put some guajoloteras on him, put some bruises on him, and let him go heal up to the next committee. Then he'll come out to the other group yard of camaradas, right? They won't keep him very long in the shoe, because it's just keep your mouth shut, right? Go to committee, why this happened, you don't know. You don't know anything? No. I don't even know who you're talking about. Are you good to go back out? I'm straight. I could go out now. That type of thing in committee, right? You have to act like that in committee for them to actually push something for you. Anyways, where I met, you could be doing anything correct, even bucking up correct, right? When it comes to even loqueros, llaveros, sometimes used to get on that trip where they didn't like someone, and believe me, they will cross somebody up. Nevertheless, the homie took care of his business, right? So with this, he was gonna catch, I don't know, but it wasn't gonna be much, right? In the day, there was no weapons involved, just the write up, and he was maxed out. He was gonna go home, and he was gonna start pushing Chico's issue on the street. That's what I mean when people get out and you start hearing all these things. You're hearing how they play out in prison, not just by me, by many. Then be aware, right? And you don't gotta be that person to say, Chales, I ain't with that. Just say, orale, listen, don't get in the way, my respects, push on. I don't know how things flip the way they did, right? We call ourselves gangbangers. Gangbangers that hit the system and we leave our neighborhood at the door. I'm really frowned upon. Alright, despise that vato said, I used to belong to this neighborhood, but I got out and got jumped into this. To me, that's brincacharcos. That's one of the biggest reasons I never put down the flag and joined my family to push. Because I felt I was brincacharcos. Puddle hopping. I was a sureño on the streets. It's what I said I was going to be for life, and I was never going to push nothing else but that agenda, right? My neighborhood. Nevertheless, they went out there. They started, regulating homeboy. And the homie on the yard said he was going to tell him, once the south side and got to a certain extent of them putting tips on him, and he was going to tell him, just estuvo, right? Things didn't play out right. For those that have been in Corcoran, at the one end, there's that wall you play handball on, right? At the other end, you got the bathrooms where you take a rinse, whatever. And that's where they're south side in the vato, right? I don't know if it was homeboy. I'm not going to put that at homeboy. But, basically, they started putting tips on him. Homeboy fell, hit himself, and it got bad real quick. Real quick. It didn't take very long, right, for three camaradas to be tipping on him, for him to go in and cure his wounds or his bruises. It just went bad to the point that the report came back that from the homie that three camaradas stopped right away. Because, you were able to see it, right? Somebody's really hurt that's not supposed to be hurt. And if you have a date, just imagine what goes through your head, right? Me personally, I was the old lifer, and I always been an idiot, right? I never think too farther than what I have to take care of, and I always had to guard myself because I'm a dummy, I'll just put it like that. Nevertheless, they got down, they took homeboy. Of course, they grabbed him, took him in, and, I shot the report to Artie. Homeboy's in a coma in the hospital. He just landed wrong, It wasn't none of the camaradas to shut down a pila of the homeboy that had the blow up. And it's just one of them things that happens, right? Like I said, there's always losses. You gotta be prepared for them losses, right? Nobody is. Point blank. Nobody likes losses. Homeboy ended up passing away, right? He just never recovered. He hit himself So when I came back home, we had passed on. The little letter that followed was Homegato's doing everything correct without minimizing the other two autos, right? Because they caught the same. But we're speaking on this homie specifically, right? He had a date, the other two didn't. So, I know from this incident, I know they didn't give him life, but they gave him one of them numbers, right? Like 30 something, 40 something, somewhere up there like that, right? And homie took him on the chin because that's what we signed up for, right? You can't do something and then something goes wrong and then start patting on your back. Pobrecito yo, right? Nevertheless, Artie took them three vatos' careers. The two camaradas and Gato from Conquer's career. Because it was just supposed to be a Southside and a revelation. It wasn't supposed to extend that. But the real issue is Artie was one of them power-hungry individuals. He ain't like Chico. He seen a means to get rid of one of Chico's soldados. They're always plotting on each other. They're always out to hurt each other. The best way at this time to hurt them was to start knocking soldados down. Start taking their power. Artie wanted to have, remember, from Salinas down, he said it was his. Again, he might have been a lot of things, but he always acted or did things against them type of charges, right? But anyways, so there's everyone's answer. You could go in and do everything correctly for the program, for the causa. Keep your head down and just program and get out. But you see surroundings in there sometimes don't allow it. Something small could lead into you being locked up for life. Let's just be sincere. Homeboy was my age. By the time that comes around, you don't know if you're gonna live that long. I mean, look at me. I'm blessed, but anyways, so you guys know what happened. Next group yard, it wasn't a regulation coming. When I received the appeal, this one came not from Artie nor Indio, came from Wolfie, right? That Artie has said to go ahead and un zapateado mexicano ahí. Ya estuvo con esos vatos. And I knew it was wrong, but again, I also knew better. I shot that Wheeler and they came out to a group yard, they got removed. So now the homie caught all that time, and due to imbi or a power move amongst them, that they're supposed to be carnales, looking out for each other. Remember, we can't touch on their topics. So even if they're doing wrong, we can't say nothing, right? We're just to push that orders around to the top. Now he's in one of them yards. Well, he had to go through that side. I don't know where he went from there, to be sincere. That's the other two camaradas. Nevertheless, it's either stay locked up or go to that side, right? So that answers another question. Is that side full of nothing but trash? No. Straight up, no. Whoever tells you that it's all trash over there is lying to you. And I'm speaking about the wiggles on GP, what exists on GP. Sureños, norteños, paisanos, bulldogs, Chris, Bloods, Woods, all that extra weenie yard gangs I don't speak on, I don't know nothing of, right? But in those cars I mentioned, there's a lot of good solid people on that side. That again, just for somebody's power move, nothing you did was ever gonna be correct. You see, I already wanted to move Gato because he was Chico Soldado, but he took two other camaradas down with Gato. Did that have any meaning to him? No. So again, don't give up your life. Be wise to what comes out of prison. Analyze, and if you're analyzed under whatever you got and from whatever you see tells you todo bien, hey, again, I'm not here for pushing poison, but if there's red flags, simplemente give him your visa. Say, órale, mucho gusto, mis respetos. Push for yourself, for your neighborhood. Stay true to yourself, to your loved ones.